San Diego schools change grading policies as a way of embracing anti-racism strategies. See, it's racist to give students the grades they earn, especially if that means minorities end up with lower grades. So, progressives institute policies where failing minority students can't be failed and pretend that this is not actually racism. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show, the one, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start in San Diego, where officials are changing their grading policies to ensure equity and inclusion. Now, this is going to end well, right? The purpose of grades now is equity and inclusion. By definition, give everybody the same grade. Just forget all the rest of this. If that's what you're going to do, then just make sure not only that everybody gets the same grade, but in the name of inclusion, have two sets of grades. The lower set of grades that people get because they're white, and the higher grades that people get because they're BIPOC. Because that way, you're not just balancing the ledger, which is, of course, racism. You are preferring, above white supremacist kids, BIPOC kids.
Emphasis on the
BIPOC.
So I'm just a common sense gal, and I can't wrap my head around this statement that opens this article. San Diego Unified School District changes grading policies to make them more anti-racist. The new grading removes non-academic factors, with the school district using the example of turning in homework late. Okay. For months, the district has been working on multiple areas of its operations, including grading, in efforts to make them more anti-racist and equitable, partly in response to social justice protests that erupted over the summer in response to George Floyd's death. That's according to the San Diego Union Tribune.
Can I just stop you?
I'm confused.
So, black dude with sketchy history.
In Minnesota.
Shot by cops, apparently strangled by cops, which means how teachers grade kids
in San
Diego has to change.
Mm-hmm. I don't get it.
Okay, then.
I'm confused. So non-academic factors are now.
Well, talk about a non-academic factor.
Yeah,
George Floyd. In fact, why don't we just give people George Floyd grades?
Yeah.
Call them what they are. Let's just name them in honor of George Floyd. These are George Floyd grades, right?
GFs.
Every BIPOC gets a passing grade, or let's call it what it is, gets a superior grade.
Yes. So here's what they consider to be these non-academic factors.
Non-academic factors.
Handing in your work late. Your behavior. Because some students may have struggles related to home or other responsibilities that affect their ability to turn in their work on time or learn content before a test.
So, I love that last part. We can't expect kids, particularly minority kids, to learn subject matters before the test because they have broken homes. So therefore, the tests don't matter, or the tests have to not measure content.
Isn't what them being in class is supposed to be where they learn the content that would be tested? Said test?
And how do you draw a line between turning in homework late? If I come from a bad family, and in your definition of it, San Diego, I come from a minority family, I have issues. Why should I have to turn in homework at all? Why just late? What if I'm a kid who's home, and look, apparently, the more minority I am, the more I can't get done, seems to be the premise here, right?
Yes.
What if I'm multiple minority? What if I'm female, LGBTQ? What if I'm half Vietnamese and half black? What if I've only got 4 toes on my left foot? What if I'm a bad ballroom dancer? What if I had a bad hair day? I mean, why are you telling me that some kids can turn their homework in later, but me with all those vectors of oppression, why should I have to turn it in at all? Especially if you can't expect me to know content for a test given my socio-political background.
Well, that's the thing. Instead of just they're just going to do away with it all. They're saying students will no longer be docked in their academic grades for turning work in late or other factors related to the work habits, according, again, to the San Diego Union Tribune. Those aspects of student behavior will be judged in a separate citizenship grade.
Oh.
And the school officials say that these changes are in part meant to address the racial and other disparities in grading practices. The citizenship grade, basically, you can't even put that on a report card because if a university tries looking at it, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you got an A? Not bringing you into our university because we don't care about citizenship.
Well, the other thing is that if what you want is to fight racism based on your own stupid premises of what that is, shouldn't you not continue to not accept late homework from white kids?
Yeah, they're going to do it's across the board here.
But no, you're missing my point.
What?
You should punish white kids for not turning it in.
The other way.
Yeah, that's right. If you're going to be anti-racist, it's not enough to uplift the black who has even if they accomplish nothing. You have to demote the white, right?
But realistically, I'll give you their data, but they should be looking at the Asian kids first. According to their data, black students received a D or an F grade 20% of the time in San Diego, and Hispanic students received a D or an F 23%. Meanwhile, the white students received the same grade 7%, and Asian students received it 6%. And so district-wide, when they looked at it, the average D or F grade was 16% district-wide.
Right. And again, if you're fighting race, this is the new thing, guys. It's not enough to strive not to be racist. This is the big change now, the sea change. This is about a year ago I mentioned to you the big change now was diversity is dying off and inclusion is the new word, right? That means it's going to get a lot more political, and now it's going to get worse. It's not enough to strive to fight racism. You have to impose anti-racist ways of seeing things in everything that you do. So notice this. It doesn't matter if there's actual racism or not. That's not what you're fighting. What you're doing is you're fighting anti-racism. And how do you do that? It seems to me that if you're actually and legitimately fighting anti-racism, we're just a stone's throw step away from that. Not only are we going to not hold certain minorities, black and brown skinned minorities, we won't hold them accountable for turning in things on time, for actually having to know the content before they take a test. But wouldn't you, by definition then, we're just a stone's throw from this, because you're not going to fix the problem. If you do that, you tell the worst performing kids that now we're going to make it easier on you not to turn work in and not to prepare for tests, you know what's going to happen. Their performance is going to flatline, even worse than it is. You're going to, by definition, have to flatline the white and Asian kids, aren't you? So maybe you're going to have to give the white and Asian kids tests that have nothing to do with the subject matter they learned so that they fail too. So this is, the kids have been studying algebra for 3 weeks. Instead of an algebra test, you give them a third-year Portuguese exam, right? And that's equity.
All right.
Because you're not going to raise up the poor-performing black and brown school. You're just going to flatline them. So anti-racism means it's not enough to discriminate against blacks and Hispanics by not helping them get better. You're going to have to punish the achievers.
As you already alluded to, it's going to go across the country, and we're going across the country to Maryland. Maryland's Montgomery County Public Schools District is requesting a system-wide anti-racist audit to determine whether or not they're doing enough to help resist the systems
of oppression. They've already decided.
Walked all over it, man. I was there.
Sorry. They have already decided.
Systems.
They've already decided that education is a system of oppression. That's what they've. So why are we doing it? Look, when we say white culture is the problem, what is the preferred answer, Katie? When we say that,
I don't know at this point.
Well, seriously, if white culture is the problem, what must we do according to the progressives?
Just squash them like a bug.
Get rid of it. If white patriarchy is the problem, what do we have to do? We have to eliminate it. If American public schools are by definition systems of oppression, what ought we to do with them?
Invest more money in them and hire more diversity officers and make sure that it's equity, anti-racist, all for BIPOC.
Pay the teachers' unions even more money.
There you go. Well, I give a little bit more detail in my answer, but you go with what you got. Now, according to a request for proposal, it's a document was obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. The school is looking for a consultant a consultant with deep knowledge and expertise in racial equity to examine the school district's culture, hiring practices, and pre-K-12 curriculum. Now, I'm gonna stop right here, look into the camera and say, everyone out there, if you're a consultant, turn your ears off. For the rest of you, never ever hire a consultant. Hire someone who actually is in the field they're working. So say you're looking to up your education system like they're trying to do here. Hire someone maybe who has years of experience in education. Don't hire someone, a consultant, who has outside of experience, maybe in a whole different industry. Not anything to do with education. Look at the people actually within the education.
Well, and let's be clear, by consultant, they don't mean somebody with an extensive educational background, do they?
Of course, they're going to hire some diversity, officer who's just going to give them...
Literally a social justice agent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Someone who wants to tell them what they want to hear.
Somebody who has no credential, but who is really, really concerned about social justice.
The document then requests the consultants to investigate whether the district's curriculum strengthens the students' sense of racial, ethnic, and tribal identities, helps students understand and resist systems of oppression, and empower students to see themselves as change agents.
And none of that has anything to do with
school. Change
agents, right?
Again, consultants like to give you fancy titles, like their own title of being a consultant.
And that's now you answered your own question. Why consultants, not educators? Because it's about education.
It's about change.
An educator might actually care about what's going on in academically. A consultant from some left-leaning university, well, that is to say all universities, with a degree in social justice studies, they don't have to care about math and science. All they have to care about is making you a change agent.
Ooh, go students. Add that to your resume. Now, the district is going to offer a year-long contract with the anti-racist consulting group, and we don't know the budget. I'm shocked that we haven't been told what the budget is.
You will know.
I'm shocked.
Yes. Also related to this story in the same segment here, we have Maryland College forms white accountability group. One way to make sure, back in Maryland again, one way to make sure that everybody is fighting anti-racism ways is to hold white people accountability.
Yes.
So you've got a group whose job it is to make sure white people are not being white people as much as possible.
Yes, because over the summer, what did we need to do is think of more groups to happen at these colleges. This is actually happening at Loyola University. They formed their own white accountability group, WAG. And it's actually for faculty, staff, and admins. And according to the website, the community would like to offer white and white-passing folks, they include folks.
White-passing folks.
The opportunity to put those resources into action by engaging in deep, meaningful conversations and exercises on anti-racism. This sounds like a really sad new comic book that the left just created. Come join WAG. Shoom, shoom, shoom.
And how much is these kids' tuition going to go up to pay for these outside
Loyola
consultants, which are going to come in and run these trainings?
You know what? Let's just hear from some of the people themselves. We got some quotes. You started off with one
man named JP, my initials.
Heyo.
Said, any of my achievements, anything I have earned, is inauthentic. Listen to this. The sniveling, racist, self-hating nature of this. Everything I have ever done or earned in my entire life doesn't count because I'm white. This is not a self-help group. This is a self-hate group.
Well, it's all about themselves, I'll tell you that much.
Hating yourself.
One woman says, for me, it's all about the fact that I know I'm racist. I grew up in the United States of America. Period. It's part of who I am.
Yeah. And not only...
Wow.
It would be...
I don't know if she had the whip going on her back at the exact time she was saying this.
The flagellators. I could live with this if you were only destroying white liberals. If you were only recruiting dumb, light white liberals who really believe this garbage and you were ruining their lives, that's fine. But this is the problem, that second quote, right? Now you project those attributes on your country. Yeah. Right? I know that everything I've earned from being white was stolen because I was born in the United States.
And if you look at Loyola, they are 70% white, and it's a Jesuit Catholic university. Let's remember all this as they're taking the whips to them.
The word is Jesuit.
Yeah, that's true. So another woman had said, I really think that I have a responsibility as an individual and in community with other white people to acknowledge the ways in which I benefit from the racist structures that cause people of color not to be able to thrive in our community.
Now, I went to the trouble to call up my Bible.
Did you?
Yes, because this is a Christian school, right?
Ooh.
And I found the passage in the Gospel of John. May I read it to you?
You may.
Jesus then looked unto the crowd and said, all of you who have pallid skin will go to Gehenna. That in order to enter the kingdom of God, one must reject one's brightness. That one's whiteness, in order to meet God, one must deconstruct his own whiteness. Then he did something with fish and bread. I don't know. But it's in the Gospels. This is 100% Christian doctrine, which we know the Jesuits constantly follow. The idea that Jesus himself hates you because you're white.
So we know that it's supposed to be difficult to get into, well, even college, and it should be even more difficult and challenging, but then rewarding, to get into med school, law school, any of the higher up schools. So at Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Sciences, Chicago Medical School, they actually just denied admission to 6 minority students. So the students, once the actual students who were already there found out about this, they decided they had to host a town hall meeting, they had to sign a petition, and they had to protest this actually happening. The 6 students who were denied participated in the school's pre-matriculation program, PMP. This program is offered to students from disadvantaged backgrounds for a free non-degree curriculum. Okay, so they're getting the ability to learn about all this stuff before then going ahead. And they do this.
Learning it before you have to learn it.
Yeah.
So that make doubly sure that you have a chance of learning it and passing the grade.
Yeah, that is true. So,
by the way, that's exactly what I want in my doctor. Somebody who needs twice as much time, twice as much lessons to be able to learn the same thing. And even if they don't learn it, you're going to have kids protesting. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, at Rosalind Franklin, the communications director, Dan Moran, told Campus Forum, that's where he's from, that the medical school fields some 10,000 total applicants every year to get into the medical school, including those coming from that program where the 6 were denied. And every application is reviewed to determine if the applicant meets specific admissions criteria for the 189 available seats. 10,000 applications, 189 available seats. But because 6 minority students were rejected, we need to have a town hall meeting, we need to sign a petition, and we need to protest.
Do we know, and I know these are rhetorical questions, do we know how many minority students were accepted?
We know that there were some accepted. I did not look up the actual number of minority students.
But some were.
Some were.
So it's not
okay.
like these 6 rejected minorities were the only minorities who applied.
Correct.
But the problem is that you've got 10,000 applicants, only one. See, right there, you fail the inclusivity test.
Yes.
Remember, in just this this very, very show today, I explained to you the dangers of moving from diversity to inclusion. Here is the proof in the pudding, right? That we have 10,000 applicants and only 180 accepted. That, by definition, is disinclusion. All 10,000 of those kids, or at least the hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands, who were women and minorities, they should be admitted.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, if in the name of inclusion, I'm going to apply, heck, I don't even need to apply. They should just tell me I'm in at every medical school across the country. So does that mean I get to be admitted at all of them and attend all of them in the name of equity?
Well, yeah, it does mean that. And it also means you deserve money.
Hey,
that you shouldn't have to pay your tuition. You deserve special breaks. Now, being a heterosexual, cisgendered white woman, maybe not quite. That's not quite a bridge far enough.
I got one little thing working for me, being a female.
Don't forget your height challenge.
Ooh. I'm left-handed.
Vertically challenged, right?
Vertically challenged, left-hander.
Any interested in sleeping with other women?
No.
No? See, that's a game breaker right there. I mean,
sorry.
Do you have any slave blood?
No, I do not.
Nothing? I'm not sure you would qualify, but at least.
Darn it.
But the thing that gets me about this, and this is the rest of your story, is what? When these 6 kids out of 10,000.
10,000.
These 6 didn't get in. What happened?
So the town hall, the protest, and the petition. So I did get from Moran, he did say, he confirmed that students of color were among the admissions to Chicago Medical School for the fall term. He just didn't say the number.
How many?
But, yeah, we don't have the number. But before we get to the actual town hall part, just know that there are other programs like that PMP that it doesn't guarantee you anything. It just gives you extra bonus of
if
that.
it doesn't
So
it doesn't guarantee, it's not inclusive, therefore it's racist.
They have these high school programs. They have Inspire. They have pre-professional research lab assistant courses. They have all this. Just so everyone knows.
Those legs up for minority kids don't count unless they guarantee something.
Exactly. So we had a town hall, and the speaker, Pierre Rochelle, said the decision was a shame, adding, "I am infuriated by what happened here. I'm frustrated because they are intentionally trying to keep minority students out of the school." For the record, 75 whopping people attended said town hall and protested.
By the way, notice what Pierre Michel didn't do?
Yeah.
Rochelle, or whatever his name is.
Rochelle.
He didn't explain why they were qualified to go.
Just, I am
He doesn't have to.
Yeah,
He doesn't say, look, these kids finished in the top 10% of their class. These kids scored as high as anybody. They aced their MCATs. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Did you hear anything like that?
I didn't even hear if they took
But they should go simply because of the melanin in their skin versus the lack of it.
Because it was 4 black students and 2 Latinos who were denied.
Right.
And according to the petition, which is called Abolish Systemic Racism in Medicine,
there you go.
#admit the 6.
Yep. And the point is that one day, because and here's the other thing, if you take them into graduate school, you take those kids in medical school, even though they may not be qualified, then you're going to have to give them medical degrees, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
The 6 don't graduate. Can you imagine 6 years from now?
Oh, gosh.
When they weren't prepared to go in the first place, and they're still not prepared? You're going to have to give them a medical license, right?
Yupper duppers.
And then you're going to have to let them perform surgeries on people.
Oh, great.
Right away. Because if you don't do that, well, who cares if anybody dies? Don't you see that this is in the name of inclusivity, Katie?
It's time for some real education. German artist Martin Schongauer's The Temptation of St. Anthony is an engraving most likely created between 1470 and 1475. In the engraving, St. Anthony looks peacefully at the viewer as horrible demons grab at his limbs, clothes, and hair and beat him with sticks. Martin's realistic description of their scales and hair point to his direct observation of animals, yet he compiled these naturalistic details to produce some of the most fantastic and grotesque images in the history of printmaking.
Yeah, before the rise of Albrecht Dürer in the early 16th century, Martin Schongauer was the most famous engraver in all of Europe. So he was a sort of outpaced by Dürer. But this guy is really remarkable. And the story of St. Anthony, he is one of the most famous saints down through history. He is one of the most ascetic saints. He denied himself the pleasures of the flesh. In fact, he lived in the desert, we're told, and he was because of his piety and his rejection of worldliness, the demons came and tormented him directly. Take a look at the engraving here. You get a great sense of this. There's Anthony in the middle, and you look at that serene look on his face as some demon is tugging on his long white beard, pulling him down. And there's just a frenetic scene as these demonic monsters just engulf St. Anthony. And what you see there is the placidity of Christ, right? The torments, the tormenting, the horror of what's engulfing him doesn't seem to faze the saint. St. Anthony is shown with some of his signature attributes in the engraving. He's dressed in a monk's religious habit and a cowl. He carries a staff with a tau-shaped handle and his bound girdle book hanging from his belt. The literary source from which this image derives is debated. The image could depict chapter 65 of St. Athanasius' Life of St. Anthony, where the hermit has a vision of himself floating through the air and undefined beings prevent him from ascending back to reality. Or it could show the 9th chapter of Athanasius' life, where St. Anthony is attacked by the devil in the form of animals and beasts in the Egyptian desert and is levitated in the air by his practice of rigorous asceticism. And again, asceticism is the process whereby you deny worldly needs. You fast and you pray and you go without water even. You deny yourself heavy clothing in the winter. You teach yourself how to withstand the vicissitudes of life in the material world. Go back to the other picture, Mike. This is Michelangelo's version of the same story, and scholars are more and more convinced that he based it on the one that we just saw from Martin Schongauer. Now go back to that first picture, Mike. The vast amount of negative space in the background accentuates Anthony's vulnerability, while the curving and horizontal lines of the devils have energy, the energy and the movement of evils. The grotesque devils are illustrated with a mixture of body parts from different animals. And go back forward to the Michelangelo one, and you can see how Michelangelo, how obviously he, in his color and picture here, takes that image and pushes it even farther down the road.
All right. Just as a reminder, these premier beverage vessels of freedom are now available when you join our Patriot Club with a one-time $99 tax-deductible donation. All you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. Now we're going to wrap things up with the fun fact of the day. Maryland used to be good. Once upon a time, back in 1784, the first balloon ascension in the U.S. took place in Baltimore. The design was done by Peter Carnes, and the ascent was actually made by a 13-year-old named Edward Warren.
And that's going to uplift us for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my